Right, hello everybody and welcome. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Marina Constas and I'm really so happy to be able to host the second year of Women in Sectional Title on this really awesome platform. Thank you so very much for joining us today and for carving out the time. These 45 minutes are really so important. I think that if you want to manage your energy as opposed to managing your time, personal advancement is and sort of promotion of knowledge is really so important as well. So thank you for that. We really do appreciate it. After today, you're going to understand the vision of the National Association of Managing Agents from a strategic point of view. You're going to be a step ahead of your colleagues in terms of understanding all the amendments that are coming into play now with the sectional title legislation. And also, you're going to hear from the horse's mouth what the CSOS think of the award regarding short-term letting. So I think that's going to be great. Last year, I also promised you bookmarks, which set out a unanimous resolution, a special resolution, and an ordinary resolution to just, view it at an easy glance. So we will be distributing those certainly over the next 2 weeks. So just remind us if you wanted one, and if you're new on this platform, send us an email as well to ask us about that. Also, please feel free to pop your questions into the chat line. We'll try and answer them on this webinar or as soon thereafter as we can. And don't worry about taking notes because these webinars are recorded and you can view them on our videos page on our Women in Sectional Title website. So thank you for that. And also huge gratitude as usual to our stalwart sponsors, ZFIN, to CIA, to BCM Track, to Meeting PAL, and to Sectional Title Solutions. Without you guys, we really wouldn't be able to have these informative sessions where we're learning and sharing and growing with all our women in sectional title. So thank you. Okay, let's dip straight into this. We've got two really super guests today, people that I've known for many years. I'd like to introduce you to them and to welcome them. Firstly, our new chairperson of the National Association of Managing Agents, Mr. Guy Pansegrouw. Guy, welcome. Great to have you on board. And also to Johlene Wasserman, who is the Governance Officer of a Manager at CSOS, Community Scheme Ombud Service. Warm welcome to you as well, Johlene. You don't need any introduction, actually. Okay, so I think on our Women in Sectional Title platform, we usually start with the men. So Guy, we're going to start with you. And you're also the Managing Director at Sigma Africa. I'm happy to speak to you. And I think I see that congratulations, first of all, I see that you slipped in quite quietly towards the end of last year as the chairperson of NAMA.
Yes, Marina, thank you very much. I'm not sure. I'm still a little bit unsure as to whether it's congratulations or commiserations. I think we have a steep mountain to climb, as do a lot of people after the last 2 years. I was very ill last year also, which postponed a number of developments in terms of finalizing changes in NAMA. I was in hospital for over 2 months with COVID. So yeah, it was last year was a year I would rather forget for a lot of reasons. But yes, thank you for your congratulations. And I certainly hope together with our board and our general manager in the form of Kerry to really continuing to make a difference and to take off, to carry on where Chantal left off. Chantal was a great chairperson. She contributed a lot to this industry. And, I think she's left some big shoes to fill, which hopefully I will have a very good go at in terms of continuing to contribute to the industry as a whole. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Well, we're really pleased to hear that you've recovered. I know it was a really difficult year, so great to have you on board. We worked a lot with Chantal. We interviewed her on our first webinar last year as well. So we're always happy to have her on board, and we look forward to working with you as well, Guy.
Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about your background. What's brought you to be in this position? What's a little bit of your history?
Okay, so I'm as you said, I'm also the managing director of a company called Sigma. My professional background is I'm a chartered accountant with a legal and tax and forensic accounting background. I qualified initially with Deloitte in London, and then for my sins during my military service, wrote the VAT Act, which is something that I only tell few people.
Jeez, I didn't know that. Gosh.
Well, we were part of that whole team, that dealt with the transition from, and I'm really giving away my age now, from general sales tax to the VAT process that's in place. So we dealt with that whole transition during the time that I was there, and then after I left there, I joined Ernst & Young, initially in the States in the financial services sector, and then when I came back to South Africa when Nelson Mandela was released, I joined Ernst & Young here and became a partner in the international practice here in South Africa. We formed Sigma in 2004, and it was really, I had a very bad personal building experience, and this probably will shed some light in terms of why we are where we are today. And I just thought that there had to be a better way to do it. So we came up with a solution for developers, where essentially we did everything for developers except build. So, we're not a large company. We manage about 6,500 properties. We employ between 30 and 40 people. And the initial process in terms of why we got involved in the property industry was essentially from a project management point of view. And what grew from there was then our property management and our facilities management businesses after that, because there seemed to be little point having just developed relationships with clients in terms of building their properties, which is a very emotional process, as I'm sure everybody understands. It seems silly to go and give the managing agent or the facilities management responsibility to somebody else. So that's where we started, the managing agent service. And along the years, we've improved that in terms of a full spectrum service. We have an architectural division, design houses. We still have our project management division. Most of the properties that we manage, we were involved with the developer in terms of actually putting those projects together. So we have a long history with developers. We have developed a very nice utility management solution, and I became involved with NAMA, I think in 2012 or 2013. I was initially involved in Gauteng West because that was the region we fell into. I then became chairperson of Gauteng West as one of the regional areas. Then got onto the board of NAMA. And last year I was appointed as the vice chairman of NAMA under Chantal as the chairperson and the financial director of NAMA. So in attempt to try and commercialize the organization and make it commercially relevant. So, and then obviously with Chantal's resignation, because all of these appointments are based on a term. After her term expired, I then became the chairperson of NAMA.
And NAMA, over the years, it's such a fantastic organization, and I think every chairperson has brought something different. I mean, I remember the days of going through to all the different provinces with Barbara Shingler, Greer, Moorbarnes, and Gerard Jooste, and I used to catch the flights together, and Chantal. So it's like a family, it's really great. What do you think your strengths are? What is your role going to be? What are you going to bring to the table?
Well, yeah, look, I think just in terms of the organization as a whole, we are working extensively at the moment on registration as a professional body. So professionalism is something that's very important and very high on the agenda of the board. We've in fact got our first meeting of the new board next week. So a lot of these initiatives that we discussed today will be put on the table and hopefully ratified at that board meeting. But I think, like any organization, there is almost continual criticism and concerns about delivering value to members. So I think, delivery of value to members, and we've worked extensively at this over the years in terms of understanding why people should be members of NAMA. We've extended our NAMA membership base because I think one of the things that we realized is that there are only just so many managing agents. So issues of trying to look for other membership categories within NAMA was very important. And we've done that now. We've changed our constitution and our MOI to incorporate other members to the extent that they would incorporate individual members, perhaps within managing agent firms, which gives us another membership category, corporate members, and also body corporate members around some of the academic advancement that we've made, which we'll probably talk about during the course of this webinar. So I think
Yes.
financial discipline, also very important from my point of view in terms of my background. The organization is structured very much around an audit kind of environment, which some people like and some people don't. But procedures and principles of proper financial discipline are very important to all of our members, to make sure that their membership money is being used correctly and for the right things. We clearly have a number of challenges. Transformation is something that we are dealing with. I think it's something that every firm, every organization in South Africa is and should be dealing with on the basis of again, commercial relevance. It's very difficult in our industry because of the very a small number of practitioners that are from previously disadvantaged backgrounds. There's some that have started, some that have stopped, some that have stopped for lots of different reasons. And what we really want to try and get to is to try and link the transformation initiative to an internship program, which we have discussed already with the powers that be in terms of the regulatory framework that's already in place. I would like to see nothing better than a similar situation to the accounting profession and the legal profession, where we actually have managing agent articled clerks, if that makes sense to you, in terms of getting them through a process. A lot of people haven't got the money to proceed along this path. So we have, over the last number of years, as I'm sure you're aware, put aside money into a development program so that we can award bursaries. We've been involved with the University of Pretoria in terms of with Vita, in terms of putting together a program that can be done where people can actually get a qualification out of that particular program. So all of these are initiatives that we will continue to pursue on the basis of just making them bigger and bigger. And I think the more people we get involved, the more we're able to demonstrate that all of these initiatives are important silos, if you like, of the organization. The stronger the organization will become, and the better we'll be able to render a service to our members.
Yes, just correct me if I'm wrong. The one thing that did interest me, and you've just mentioned it as well, is about community schemes being members of NAMA. So does that mean a body corporate, or can I be if I'm an owner, can I also be a member of NAMA?
Yes, you can. So the way that we structured it, we looked initially at the community schemes because it was really the question of looking at the hierarchy, and community schemes and their boards of trustees were our first point of focus. And what we wanted to do there was to offer community schemes and sectional title schemes, obviously that's included in the definition, the ability to become a member of NAMA so that all the benefits that our members actually get could also be disseminated to the actual boards of trustees themselves. Many boards of trustees take on the mantle of being a trustee, and they have no idea what it is that they're actually supposed to be doing. So that education from a trustee point of view, very important. The issue of trustees themselves being accountable to the members, it's got to be done in a sort of environment of education where they actually can represent the members correctly on things. So individual members we've made provision for. So individual portfolio managers, individual persons as a member of a scheme can also be done on that basis. And then of course the body corporates, the boards of trustees themselves. There is a sort of token process that's involved at the moment. So with a scheme, there's an annual membership, which is not expensive. For the biggest scheme possible, it's about 4,500 Rand a year. And that entitles the scheme to six tokens, which means that 6 people can actually enroll for that university accredited course that that has been put together with the University of Pretoria.
That's great to hear. Excellent. I think that strategy will bode well going forward. So Guy, Marion presented a question in a chat box about what's on a lot of people's minds. And that is really, what kind of, does NAMA have teeth with regard to managing agents who are not sticking to your strict code of conduct and your memo of incorporation and your code of ethics, which is really quite strict? I mean, how do you see that going forward? Because I think that has been a criticism I know in the past.
Sure, and it is something we're aware of that, and you're right, it has been a historical criticism. We have one of the things that we will probably ratify during the course of next week is the formation of an ethics subcommittee, where we will not necessarily use existing board members. There will be board member representative, obviously, because it needs to feed into the board, but we will establish an ethics subcommittee that will deal with complaints about managing agents. And I field an enormous number of these kind of queries just in terms of our region, just based on my previous chairmanship of Gauteng West. So I understand that there are a number of dubious practices that people have issues with that do need to be addressed. I think what also needs to be said, though, is that we do have to separate the wheat from the chaff. As far as this is concerned, there are a lot of complaints that are based on professional jealousy, on issues of somebody having managed a scheme for 25 years and then all of a sudden their appointment is terminated. Issues of people abusing their position in terms of actually trying to increase or secure a larger client base. All of those things are things that we want to create accountability for, and be in a situation where we address those issues so that we can reduce the criticism in that area. We have to work on the basis of written or recorded complaints, because if we had to deal with every single verbal complaint, we would do nothing else. And as we know, with verbal complaints related to anything, they often fizzle out and become nothing.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that is certainly on my desk, I think 3 matters this week have already crossed my desk, where managing agents are not handing over books of account and record, and that's a tough thing. I think CSOS are trying to deal with that on an urgent basis, but I think that's really something to highlight. I would like to talk about the very exciting, before we go over to Johlene, and then I'll come back to you. I want to discuss the really exciting NAMA Indaba coming up this year, because it's our first opportunity to actually just see everybody again. Yes. And meet. And I really felt very put out in the last 2 years that we haven't had this thing. So yeah, tell us a bit about that.
Okay, well, that's also very exciting. It's been the subject of a number of discussions at board level. We obviously had to be compliant as far as the Disaster Management Act was concerned, in terms of not having a gathering, which was very disappointing. But as you all know, the last one was held in PE, and I think we made a resolution a number of years ago to make sure that the Indaba or the national conference moved around from province to province. So we've effectively now almost gone full circle. We're back in the Western Cape this year. So the initial arrangements have already been made to have the conference in Stellenbosch. The accommodation arrangements and the logistical arrangements as far as the hotel is concerned, it's going to be held at the Protea Hotel in Stellenbosch. So it's a fantastic setting, and really, what Frans is the person that's going to be responsible for the finances within the board. He and I at the moment are finalizing the budget, both the conference budget and the NAMA budget. And the intention is to really try and see if we can make this a fantastic event. People are sick and tired of Zoom conferences and not engaging with people. So we think there's always the dilemma with these conferences. Conferences are not a way, unfortunately, for anyone to make money. We all know that. What our mission is here is to make sure that we don't lose any money. And that's obviously dependent on the overheads that are incurred relative to the number of potential delegates. So, one of the things that we've said this year is that we're going to limit the delegates to 180 people. So we really want people to engage early with us, so that we're in a situation where we know that the commitments that we make, because a lot of those costs are fixed costs, the commitments that we make to the hotel, to the catering venues, etc., everybody that's involved in the process, together with you as members who come and put your stands up there.
Oh, Guy, I think you've gone on mute for some reason. Don't know. Okay, well, until Guy comes off mute, I'm going to go to Johlene. So Johlene needs to go off mute, please. Guy, you're back. Oh, there's Johlene. Okay. Sorry, Guy, continue what you were saying. I don't know what happened there.
No, I was just saying that we're going to limit the number of participants to 180, so we can get a heads up view very quickly with regard to understanding how many delegates are going to be there, so that we don't incur unnecessary costs in terms of some of the costs that are variable. So all very exciting. We will finalize the agenda in the next 6 weeks. and then we will be distributing that to our members to try and get early commitment.
Great. You can put my name down, definitely.
That's already on the list.
Right. Johlene, we're coming to you now, Johlene. So Johlene is the governance manager at the Community Scheme Ombud Service. And Johlene, we chatted on the phone a little while ago. So yeah, tell us, how's it going at CSOS and what are we expecting this year from an amendment point of view?
Morning, Marina. Morning to everyone here. Guy, congratulations for being elected as chairperson of NAMA. I didn't know this. I'm shocked. Would you please send me through your board structure and the members of the coming years? So I would like to work closely with you guys, and I'm looking forward to working with you. And it's very, very exciting, everything you said.
Thank you.
Amendments, legislation. Yeah, we have amended our legislation last year. It's with the Department of Human Settlements. Let me just say before I continue, I am at an airport lounge currently, so it is a bit noisy. My headphones just didn't work out. So if there's people walking around and it's noisy, it's just the people around me. All right.
Thanks, Jenny. No problem.
We did amend various parts of our legislation, and I think I can highlight three things that we are really looking forward to. First and foremost, the non-compliance in terms with the CSOS and not paying levies, or levies are not being paid over to us. It's alleged that a managing agent keeps it in trust account, or a self-managed scheme, it's not paid over to us, but yet if every member pays these levies. So we would like more enforcement powers in our CSOS Act to deal with non-compliance of not submitting annual returns, levies, as I said. And then, of course, each and every sectional title developer needs to lodge their governance rules with the CSOS, and we are on a vigorous training campaign. And that's where I'm actually heading to Cape Town, to our big training in Indaba we're having this week in Tamboerskloof in Cape Town. So I'm actually going there. So that's what we're going to do with our legislation, in terms of enforcement powers, in order to ensure that you comply with those three things. Another very important aspect, if I move over to the Sectional Title Schemes Management Act, is Section 16. Now that deals with administrators. Now as you all know, CSOS has got very limited power when it comes to administrators. We only merely accept the quarterly reports, and we can go through it and we can probe the administrators to say, yes, what happened here and when will the scheme be rehabilitated, but we do not have any powers. So we have beefed up that clause in order to ensure that we have more powers, and also then taking it away from the magistrate court. So it's just a high court application. I think that's very important, because now you can go to batch court and say, well, I want an administrator. And yes, we work closely with administrators. And another thing that we're going to do this year, we're going to establish a panel of administrators at the CSOS, just as we established a panel of executive managing agents. So we're very excited about that. So that's also one of the aspects that will change. And of course, we are driving registration at the CSOS, and we're also going to put that in the CSOS Act to say, register your scheme, because as you know, currently it's only in the
Hello, Johlene.
regulations. And hello?
Sorry,
People are generally compliant. They want to register. It's free of charge, of course. They are compliant to the CSOS. We are being seen, I think, in the past 7 years that I've been there from the start. They are very positive, and we at the CSOS want to portray a message that we are here to serve you. We are there for the public. We want an empowered stakeholder at the end of the day. So I think with the amendments and with our vigorous training, education and media coverage that we are rolling out, I mean, we're starting now. I think we are going to train and educate 6 towns before our financial year end. That's the 31st of March. And just to give you an idea, our annual performance target, Marina, as you know, you've been on the CSOS board, is 20 training sessions per year. We have already surpassed 150. Whether it's a webinar or online or in person, so we're really looking forward to the amendments, and we're really looking forward to rolling it out. Public participation is on the cards. It's with the Department of Human Settlements, and we will roll it out when we have a go ahead from there.
That's fantastic. And then maybe something that you can both ask about engagement between CSOS and NAMA. I know that when I was on the board, there were definitely a lot of meetings and a lot of good things happening between NAMA and CSOS. Is that going to continue? I'm going to give you both an opportunity. Maybe Guy, you can start.
Okay, so yes, Marina, the short answer to your question is yes. We've always had a very good relationship with CSOS, right from date of establishment of CSOS, as you know. We are now in since the appointment of the new Ombud, we are now in a situation where meetings are regular, and they regularly happen on a quarterly basis. And we're very grateful to the Chief Ombud in terms of making himself available. For those meetings. He's taken a personal interest in some of the challenges that are being faced by CSOS and how CSOS interacts and engages with NAMA. I think they do value our input, because we're trying to give them input from the ground up. When we're dealing with real issues, it's really nice to deal with people that have expressed much interest in making sure that the issues that we are facing on the ground actually are dealt with to the extent, obviously, that they can. The other development that has happened in the last couple of months is that the CSOS has set up a whole revenue department to deal with issues relating to the payment of CSOS levies. They've appointed a new CFO, who herself is a chartered accountant. She's come from another state-owned enterprise, I think one of the water boards, if I'm not mistaken. And she's got very good knowledge of how these organizations should work from a financial point of view. We've had some meetings with her directly, and we've also agreed with her that she's going to attend the quarterly finance meetings going forward. I think there's been a lot of frustration with regard to documentation supporting levy receipts by CSOS, which is being addressed by CSOS, because they understand the audit requirements, and why we're all having a hard time with our auditors explaining that we're making these payments without any kind of acknowledgement of receipt. That is being addressed. There's also a significant amount. CSOS has a huge amount of unallocated levies or unallocated income, which has been the subject of their audit report, and they've really got onto this in a big way in terms of putting teams together to actually engage with managing agents to understand where all these bulk payments come from and what the levies are for, so that they can start getting rid of these unallocated receipts, because it's not something that they want to have on their balance sheet. So significant progress as far as CSOS is concerned. Rule issues continue. We have had personal engagements with Johlene herself with regard to rule issues. There's continual feedback that has to pass between the two organizations to make sure that they understand some of the practical issues that we have, and then obviously there are the ongoing submissions from NAMA in terms of possible amendments.
And guys, what about top of mind amendments that you've put to CSOS for managing agents? Is there anything that stands out for you? Any amendments that you guys would like to see?
Look, I think there's a very detailed document that's been put together by NAMA, Marina, which can be made available or discussed further. It's probably not, this forum is probably not to go into that kind of detail. But I think one of the things that we do have to try and resolve, I mean, really right at the top of this list is this frustration that's being caused at the moment with regard to quorums, and linked to that possibly the limitation issue as far as proxies are concerned, because both of those issues really are causing body corporates at the moment or sectional title schemes to incur over expenditure as far as a duplication of meeting costs are concerned because of these provisions. So those are things that we would like to try and see if there's not a more practical way of dealing with them. To mobilize everybody for a meeting that never takes place is something that's really a waste of everybody's time and often a waste of the body corporate's resources. Issues of compliance by developers with the requirements of the Sectional Title Schemes Management Act is something that a lot of people are battling with. Nobody understands the importance of those requirements. They're there in the Act for a particular reason as far as new body corporates are concerned. And we have a number of inaugural meetings, for argument's sake, that can't proceed because of the fact that these documents that are supposed to have been delivered by the developer have not been so delivered. And there are references to penalties and the fact that it's an offence, etc., etc. but they really are taken, they're taken very lightly, and we would like to really see a lot of that, tightened up. I think the other major issue is really this whole issue around penalties and processes that are involved with regard to the imposition of penalties. I think the CSOS has views on this, obviously from the point of view of the transgressor, and not necessarily the sectional scheme, from the point of view of trying to be as fair as possible. But I think there are lots more discussions to come on that process in terms of hearings and rights of appeal, and what can be added as a penalty and what can't be added as a penalty, etc., and how these things actually go forward and become CSOS matters that then have to be dealt with, on behalf of boards of trustees, which also, it's incredibly resource intensive, and to the extent where people actually are shying away from getting involved in these very important matters because of the cost involved, and the fact that in most cases the responsibility is delegated to the managing agent, and they're not in a position financially, to fund the people's time that are involved in these things, because in most cases it's senior people's time, and that's what we do, we sell time. So that becomes an unrecoverable overhead. It's a problem.
100%. Thank you. I see there are one or two questions popping up about the Property Practitioners Act. NAMA is actually running workshops on this act. I know I'm speaking at one in February. I think it's the 18th of March, 18th of March in Durban. Yeah, so we'll have more on that, and we'll do a separate webinar. We're not going to answer questions on that right now, but it is top of mind. Johlene, the engagement with NAMA, you happy with it? Just very briefly, because I also want to discuss that case with you.
Yeah, everything that Guy said. I mean, we have a relationship with NAMA where you can basically pick up a phone, or you can walk into our offices, or us into any of the board members or members of NAMA, and we can discuss and chat about everything. I think what we're looking forward to is our joint collaborations when it comes to training. I think when I spoke to Guy last year, they are going to resuscitate the breakfast, if I'm not mistaken, Guy, and then to let CISO come in here, and let's discuss that, because training is as important, I think, for NAMA as it is for CISOS. You have all these legislation and regulations and practice directives, but if you can't get it out to the people in a simplified manner, what is the use of especially the regulator? We have over 1 million property owners in South Africa. That's a huge market to tap in, and we must penetrate that market and infiltrate it, and this we can do without our strategic partners at the end of the day. So I think, Guy, let's take it offline and let NAMA be at these training sessions. Let's have an exhibitor table there for NAMA, so because there's hundreds of people coming in, so you have a table there, you exhibit, you tell people about NAMA. A lot of people do not know about NAMA, especially Guy spoke about transformation. Now that's one of the things that we do at the CSOS is we tap into the black managing agents in South Africa, and you can't believe we're having our second run of black managing agents we're appointing now, and there's over 30 that applied. So in the first run we had 14 that we appointed, and now there's another 9. So they are out there in the market, Lots of them have been members of NAMA previously, or, they can't pay the subscription, and we're also busy with that, dealing with that with NAMA. So just that is very important. So we are definitely going to take hands going forward and see how this plays out.
That's great. Thank you, Johlene. And yeah, I think that also from a women in sectional title point of view, in our next webinar, we're speaking to 2 really, really great ladies who are involved in transformation and who are managing agents themselves. All right, Johlene, let's just, I did promise in our little write-up that we were going to say a few words about the Blyde River Walk estate case, because it was in the media. You had 86 homeowners in there, all, being really, really upset with Baldwin Properties and the trustees there because they wanted to change the regulation on short-term letting. And we got an award from the CSOS. What do you feel about the award? How do you want to just let everybody know where you
look at it? It attracted a lot of media coverage when it when it broke last year. I think it was even on all the news channels. You know what happened here at the Blythe. It's very unfortunate at the end of the day, because you have this beautiful big lagoon and we all want a part of it at the end of the day. You know, it's even on a personal level. You know, my children went with other friends there for a birthday. Everybody wants to be in the lagoon. You know, it's hip and happening. And what happened here, I do not think they've foreseen the amount of people that would be interested to come and have a visit there, you know, on a daily basis. And all of a sudden, you know, we had this bureaucratic rules, and if you short-term letter in there, you know, you had to pay double levy, you had to have a higher entrance fee, you know, and all these things. And naturally so, owners were going to get upset about it. So 86 owners came to the CSOS. They cited Baldwin and the estate and everything else. And they said, but prove it's us. Prove that it's us that's doing all these things, that our day visitors and our short-term letters are causing all these chaos in Baldwin, in Blythe River. And at the end of the day, you know, that couldn't be established. There's thousands of people living there, thousands and thousands. And at the end of the day, unfortunately, Baldwin, as well as the estate, they couldn't prove that hang on, it's only you, the designated short-term letting group, that caused all the chaos. And what we must remember, that the rules were involved there. They changed the rules at a meeting. Now, one thing I always train on, and it's very important, a meeting must stay correct throughout. If we are 10 members at that meeting and we need 33.3% there, it must stay throughout the meeting. We can't let that quorum drop ever, because then the meeting is it's void. It's void. It's null and void at the end of the day. This is what happened here. They asked members to leave. Members were thrown out. Members left. It was just completely chaotic. You know, so there's a lot of things that the CSOS determined in order to say that, you know what, we grant the relief of these 86 members, or 83, I can't remember correctly, and to say, you know what, these rules are null and void, and a specific clause in the rules that state it's the short-term letters are singled out. So, you know, I agree with the adjudicator, Kosima Basu, on this order, and it is a very important judgment going forward. Yes, we foresee that Baldwin Properties will appeal, and that's the beauty of our law. You can appeal, of course you can, and we will always abide by the court's decision, you know. So I'm not sure whether they have instituted appeal proceedings in the High Court, but and we welcome that they do. But I think this is a watershed case going forward with these mixed-use developments. I'm also training on mixed-use developments in a month or two, because that's the popular thing of developers nowadays. We you know, that's what they do. That's the trend. So we have to keep up, because you buy into the HOA, but you don't know there's going to be a hotel, there's a share block there, or sectional title. So very important to know which legal entity you're buying into and your rights and responsibilities. And that's simple, that a state can't trample on that rights and obligations and responsibilities at the end of the day.
I think also, Johlene, I mean, it was 53%. I think that was what the vote was, to sort of stop short-term letting. So that wasn't enough in the first place. As you said, they couldn't prove the noise nuisance and all the drama, who it was from. But I think, I mean, we've got the actual High Court case with Paddock and Sally Ann Nicol, which says that if the rules are correctly made, and, you know, if it's not a case of you were sold the development at the outset, saying that you could short-term let. So say it was an old building in Cape Town where there was no short-term letting ever. Then it's a different thing. Then your rules will survive, and your rules, you can say, well, we don't want short-term letting, we're not having it. But in this particular case, the distinguishing factor was that Baldwin and them sold these things based on the fact that you can short-term let, and there's all of that. There wasn't the correct percentage in terms of that meeting, and there wasn't enough evidence with regard to the noise nuisance. So it is a distinguishing case. We mustn't all go around and think now that, you know, bodies corporate can't actually make their own rules on this.
Sure.
that
No,
right?
definitely. No, definitely. You know, and this was a, that's why we say at the CSOS, it's not one size fits all. Obviously, like we said, the developers are doing these mixed use developments. So we must keep in mind, this was for the Blyde River. We're not going to apply this to any other community scheme as a blanket approach. You're still going to approach the CSOS with your unique merits, and we're going to make an order based on that merits that you bring to the CSOS, whether you are the applicant or the respondent or whichever it is. Marina, I just forgot to mention the other very important thing we're amending the legislation on is developers. As you know, we have no powers over developer currently as we speak. So if there is a new development and it's alleged that the developer hadn't done 1, 2, and 3, you know, they cannot bring that developer to CSOS. You know, so that is one of the things that we're going to amend and that we did amend. So that's very important.
News. Sure, that's the best news I've heard for a very long time. Honestly, I think that's fantastic. Guy, there was a question on the group here chat about NAMA. Is it compulsory for a managing agent to be a member of NAMA? Do you just want to take us through that briefly?
Yeah, okay, so as things stand at the moment, it's not compulsory for a managing agent, you know, to be a member of NAMA. All of the managing agents that are members of NAMA are required to have a Fidelity Fund certificate. So they're required to be, you know, registered with the Estate Agency Affairs Board, or now what it's going to become with respect to the Property Practitioners Act, which becomes effective on the 1st of February. So it's not compulsory, and that's, you know, that's one of the issues that we as an organization have always struggled with, in terms of actually saying that it is compulsory, you know, to be a member of NAMA. It's one of the reasons that we pursued this issue of the professional body, you know, for us to get to a state where there's lots of justification for the fact that you should be a member of NAMA. But I do think that what has got out into the marketplace is that criteria for the appointment of managing agents have been amended by boards of trustees and members to include the question as to whether a managing agent is registered with NAMA or not. So in other words, it now becomes a qualification criteria for the appointment of a managing agent. So what we've done, you know, in the last short term, and certainly going forward, is to rely on that process in terms of making managing agents understand that if it is going to be a qualitative criterion for the appointment of a managing agent, then they better think seriously about becoming a member of NAMA. You also have to ask the question as to why somebody who's involved in the industry would not want to be a member of an organization that is creating value for its members in terms of direct contributions to their ability to run their business properly. So, you know, I think in time, you know, we've never ever been in a situation where we've been able to enforce that, and I think we must just let market mechanisms dictate. You know, that eventually we will get to a point where managing agents that are out there, everybody's competing on the same level. I think it's very clear that people who incur proper overheads and proper registrations using proper license software, etc., cannot compete with a managing agent who does none of those things. And that the issue of price, as far as managing agents is concerned, is not the sole criterion for the appointment of a managing agent. Accountability and you know, some kind of regulation are very, very important as far as both members and boards of trustees are concerned.
Yeah, I couldn't also agree with that statement more. I think from our perspective, over the last couple of years, I think we've taken on the responsibility, and hopefully all the people in our industry, when they're talking to trustees, you know, they must drive it from the consumer perspective, for consumers to ask that question: are you a member of NAMA? As you said, and I mean, putting it in rules and that, it would just be the cherry on top. So I think that's important for all of us, and I certainly do. I will always ask my trustee clients if they're members of NAMA, and it's important for all of us.
I think just to add the commercial aspect to this as well, Marina, something that I've noticed, which has taken a large uptick now in terms of regularity of occurrence, is that the banks, when they're approving developer documentation, are also asking, you know, the managing agent's details have to be given. In most cases, initial budgets are required for the purposes of establishment of initial levy bases, etc. And one of the questions that the banks are asking now is whether the managing agent is a NAMA member. So, you know, as you say, it's driven by the consumer, but there's all these market forces in terms of interested parties. And let's face it, at the end of the day, you know, the banks probably are one of the most interested parties in terms of their mortgage ratios, you know, in terms of the fact that they've, in most cases, have financed the unit. So, you know, they're an important, you know, participant in this progress too. So process. I think the more entities like that we get, we will find, you know, a situation where the relevance of NAMA and the relevance of NAMA membership is driven home to those people that have up to now, you know, avoided the net, if you like.
Yeah, absolutely. Johlene, a last word from you. Education, education, training.
Definitely so. CSOS, you know, we actually are very evolving ourselves. You know, we're always thinking what's new, what we can do, you know, but I think at the end of the day, it's providing a service, an excellent service to the public, and change the image of how people see a government entities at the end of the day. And that starts with us, the employees of the CSOS. You know, it's very, very, very important that we are seen in the industry that we regulate as positive, as forward thinking, and I think as approachable. That's definitely so. And with the coming of the new Chief Ombudsman, Advocate Mkhize, there's accountability. He's holding us accountable for our actions. And that's very, very important, because if you buy a property, it's one of the biggest investments you'll ever make. Or even if you rent a property, you know, we are there to serve you, and we are there to take you every step of the way. And as I always say, we want to see a decrease in disputes, and we want to see an increase in good governance within schemes and an empowered stakeholder. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, it's been fantastic to chat to both of you. Thank you for your time. It's appreciated. Our gratitude goes to our sponsors again, ZFIN, CIA, BCM Track, Meeting PAL, and Sectional Title Solutions. Make the choice now to ensure that 2022 is a great year for opportunities, for growth, and certainly we will hold your hand throughout that. So thank you to everybody who's logged on. We had a record of registrations of 170 people, not only ladies. So yeah, onwards and upwards. Thank you, and see you again next month.